on, guys? Welcome back to another episode with PNW Gorilla. Today we're going to be talking about land navigation and how not to get lost and die in the fucking woods. As you can see behind me, I am in the Pacific Northwest and there is a copious amount of woods. If I remember, it was somewhere around the 42 million acres-ish. Right, so what we're going to go over first is some of the gear that I use. I'm going to go ahead and throw timestamps up on right here with different topics. So if you want to hop to those topics, if you don't want to hear what I have to currently say, go ahead and jump there. Zip fizz. Climb up here was a little bit more treacherous than I assumed it would be. All right, so right off the bat, what do you need for land navigation? First off, you're going to need a map. I'm the map. So the map that I use is from CalTopo, and you can actually design your own maps here. Now, I made this myself, and you can design maps yourself on CalTopo, you know, for what you want to see, what kind of overlays that you want to have for the map in your area. So personally, we use 1 by 50,000. Another great thing is always have a laminate protector with your map. So with maps, when you are designing your own, you can do 1 by 24,000 or you can do 1 by 50,000. Those are the recommended two most used. Personally, I use 1 by 50,000. That's what the military primarily used and uses. That's what I use. That's what my group uses. And I feel like overall 1 by 50,000 is probably the most common. So the main thing that you want to have when you are designing your own map, and I'll show this close up in the video, but the main thing that you want to have with a map is you want to see all the elevation, you want to see your contour lines, and you want to be able to see roads and water. If you are in more urban areas, then you're going to want to see landmarks and you're going to have all this. But when you're building your own map, there's a whole lot that goes into it. That's not the primary focus of this video. If you want to know how to build your own maps, there are videos on YouTube for it, or I might do a video in the future if that's something that you're interested in. So, map is one huge thing that you need to have. Laminate protector. You're going to need your compass. Now, lensatic compasses are what we are going to be selling here at PNW Gorilla /ODGG. This one is one of the magnetic compasses that are radioactive. Ooh. Now, these are my preferred compasses. I like these compasses a lot. However, they are expensive, and not everyone wants to fork out the money for one of these. So, due to that, I will be selling a little bit less fancy, but absolutely usable compass. Next, protractors. Need protractors. And as you can tell, a lot of the larger protractors over time, they start to crack and they bend, and they're way too large for what it is. Some guys, myself included, will take the outer rim and cut it out. So these are actually the same. It just cut out the mills portion, which a lot of people don't use. So that's also something that I could get into. I'm not going to right now, but essentially mills is on the outside, and then you have degrees on the inside. So if you don't know, every compass has 360 degrees. Essentially, mills just gives you the opportunity to be significantly more precise with exactly where you're going. A lot of the time, you don't have to be that precise, but it doesn't hurt to have it. Another really cool thing is that, and I had it, and I left it at my car. I'm a dingus. We will be selling mini protractors here soon. because to be honest with you, I am really enjoying the mini protractors and I fucking hate this shit. Anyway, another thing to keep on you is write in the rain notebook. I don't know how many notes I've taken with these. Always good to have. Pencil, pen, carpenter's pencils, people. Carpenter's pencils. That is the way. And then as far as the pen goes, try to get you some Write in the Rains. I will be selling those as well. Shameless plug. Range cards. I have the PDF for these on my Telegram if you want your own. Range cards are great for if you are setting up in a location, you're going to be in that location for a while, and you're going to be rotating in and out of guys that are there. All right, so another thing that I recommend keeping on you is Ranger beads. So if you don't know what Ranger beads are, if you haven't seen my Ranger bead videos, go ahead and check those out. I'll link those as well. Ranger beads are very important for keeping your distance and how far you have walked without having to rely on technology. Now, that being said, technology is awesome. If you want a little cheap, go get you one of these Garmin Instinct watches. This thing is awesome. The amount of things that I can do with this watch are absolutely incredible, but don't rely on it. You shouldn't need technology to be able to navigate in the woods. You should absolutely not need it whatsoever. The vast majority of the time, I've gotten to the point where I can look at a map, I can orient to where I already know the rough direction of north is, and I can go, all right, so I'm about, okay, so we took this road up, we went through that curve, and that puts me about there. Wow, look at that. And then I can look back here. Okay, so there's a hill there, there's a hill there. So that would be right there and right there, which once again puts me right here. Cool. Terrain association is huge. If you do not know how to be able to associate terrain from 2D into 3D, you're not going to have a good time. And that's the vast majority of what land navigation is being able to take 2D information, transferring it into our 3D life. Or at least what we conceive, what we visually conceive as what 3D is. Okay, so another thing with the range beads and just in general that I recommend having on you is one of these guys. So having a rangefinder is absolutely amazing. This is a SIG model Kilo 1000, which essentially just means that this can go up to 1,000 meters. There are significantly better rangefinders on the market. From what I've been told, Vortex kind of has the winner there. But being able to just quickly, oh, that's 99 meters. It's very handy. Very, very handy. And then that also helps you with association as well. So if you roughly don't know where, or you roughly know where you are on the map, right? You can actually range from here to another hill that you know, and then as long as you know where you're pointing north, right, then you can get that exact distance of where you are. That's a little bit farther into this than I'm wanting to go, but anyway. All right, so one of the, I'm not worried about that right now. So with maps, the best way that I have found to explain to guys is always keeping, and once again with men, I've found that immature potty humor usually sticks in your brain the best. So what I like to remember for using your protractor on a map of how to use it correctly in one grid square is right up the ass. So you have one grid square here, right? Here's what we'll do. All right, so when you have a 10-digit grid, and that's usually what you're going to be working with GMRS, is a 10-digit grid. So once again, this is not latitude and longitude. I am not a fan of latitude and longitude. If you want to learn that way, if that's how you have been trained, that's cool. You do you, boo-boo. But if you're going to be working with a tangent grid, so the first thing that you want to do with the tangent grid is you're going to have your first 5 digits and then your second 5 digits. So the first thing that I do is put a dash in between them, and then underline the major 2. So the first 2 in your 10-digit grid, that is going to be your grid squares. And then the next 3, that is going to be getting you in closer in the grid square itself. So the third one on both, that is going to take you into 100 meters. The second one is going to be within 10 meters. And the last one is going to be within 1 meter. So with the last one, you really don't actually need it all that much. The most important is a 8-digit grid, and that's usually going to get you right where you need. Now, once again, usually, not always. So, without trying to expose my area too much, which I kind of already am, but you know what? It just is what it is at this point. So, let's say that we got a grid for 5272, and then, so let's say 5250, 7250. So, where are we going to go from there? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to 52, right? And then we're going to go up. We're going to hit that 72. So this right here, this is the grid that we're going to be working with. So, like I said, 5050. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our nifty protractor. We are going to go over 50. So once again, like I was saying last time, right and then up. So we go over to 50, all right? And then we're going to go up to 50. And then usually what you do is you move over just a smidge, and you want to take your pencil or pen, whatever the fuck you're using, I don't care. I usually like doing a pencil. And then you would mark right there on the 50. And then something that a lot of guys fuck up is after you've plotted your grid, go back, all right, and do it again. Hell, plot it 3 fucking times. There's really nothing wrong. When I was in the military, that is something that I would do consistently, is I would plot every single point that I had 3 times to verify that that's where I was going. And not to boast by any means, but, you know, I always found my points because of that. More often than not, at least. I mean, not everyone finds every single point every single time. It's just how it happens. Especially when you start getting on those, the Ranger land nav courses where, you know, you got plots that are, or points that are like 10 meters from each other. All right. One of the first things that I want you guys to do once you get your own map is sit down and just start plotting things, right? Hell, maybe just make up a couple of numbers, right, within the grid squares that you have. Make up some numbers and then just start working with it, right? Just start plotting things. Honestly, plotting grids is probably the easiest part of all of this. All right, so now that we've gone over plotting a grid and how to plot a grid, let's talk about what the fuck are you actually looking at here, right? What are all these things? So, the best way that I have found to remember all this is hidden, valley, ranch, salad, dressing. So, what are these? All right, so first, hidden, hill. So, how do you identify a hill? Usually on a hill, okay, you're going to have one circle, and then you're going to have a lot of more circles coming around it. And then something else that I want you guys to do, right? If you already have your maps right now, okay, what I want you to do is take your map and pause this video and take a second and just look for a hill. Hell, you know what? I'll throw a picture up. Find a hill, right? Go for it. Just find one. I don't care where it is. Okay, so next, hidden valley. You should know what a valley is. Do you not know what a valley is? Okay, we don't know what a valley is. I'm gonna help you. That's why we're here. Okay, so a valley is going to be that low point in between all of your hills and your ridges and everything. That is going to be the lowest point, usually where you find your rivers and you're gonna find your water sources. Hell, you find lakes there. That's the in-between point. That's the lower point. And it makes sense, you know, everyone should know what a valley is. If you don't, okay, cool. All right, so what I want you to do now, go ahead and find a valley somewhere on this map. Cool, you found one? Awesome. What is this in my pants? All right, so Hidden Valley Ranch. Ranch stands for ridge. All right, so what is a ridge? A ridge line is a series of hills. So if you look behind me, you can actually see multiple mountains. I don't know if that's actually showing up on the camera right now. You can see multiple mountains, right? All that would be considered a ridge line. Right here, you have multiple hills. That is also considered a ridge line. So a ridge line is just a series of hills that are all connected. Fairly simple. So when you look at a map, it is going to look like such. So go ahead and try and find a ridge line on this map. All right, so once again, Hidden Valley Ranch salad. That stands for saddle. So a saddle is going to be just like you would think of it on a horse, right? That is that dip in between two hills. So usually, not always, usually that saddle is going to be that dip that is on a ridge line, right? Pretty simple. It is going to look like such. Go ahead and find it on the map now. All right, so next we have, once again, Hidden Valley Ranch salad dressing. Depression. So, depressions aren't as common in the Pacific Northwest. You are going to find them here and there. Usually that's going to be your bogs, your swamps, the places that you want to avoid at all costs. Avoid depressions at all times. Depression bad. Sadness. Okay, so those are our major terrain features. What are our minor terrain features? Wow, I'm glad you asked. Minor features are draws and spurs. So a draw and a spur are going to be, once again, usually found on a ridgeline. So a draw, you want to think low, and a spur, you want to think high. So a draw is going to be that lower in-between point on a ridgeline. Usually we're going to find your water sources. And then a spur is going to be the high point. Usually it's easier to climb up a ridgeline on a draw and follow the water source. Not always though. Usually on spurs you're going to find your cliffs, which is, holy hell, another important thing. So as well with the minor terrain features is a cliff. So a cliff is going to look like such. Cliffs are fairly easily identifiable, and that's also something that you want to avoid. Absolutely gorgeous for viewpoints. As far as actually, navigating them, not a good time. And then your supplemental terrain features are going to be cut and fill. Those are usually man-made. So cut and a fill are the vast majority of the time either going to be for roads or railways. All right, so One thing that really helps you a lot, and this is almost like dry fire in a way, is take all of these and just start going over your map, right? And just start trying to find where each one of them are. Now, I know that I already put up every single one of those in the video, but go ahead, take a second, look over your map, and find where on your map you can find all these. And sometimes you won't, right? If you're more rural, you're probably not going to find a cut and a fill. If you're more in mountainous terrain like I am, you might not find a depression. There's not a whole lot of swamps up here. All right, so next we are going to go on to colors on a map. So the colors are fairly easy. Some of them I don't even bother with, to be completely honest with you. I'll go over them anyway, but I'd say the vast majority of the time, they don't really matter a whole lot. Most of them. So black is going to be your man-made structures. And then green is going to be foliage. Blue is going to be water. Red and red-brown are going to be, once again, man-made structures. I'm probably going to add more here in the video later. Alex, add more here in the video later, because I can't think of it right now. I'm a dumbass and didn't actually pack anything for this. Okay, so when you grab your map, when you're looking at your map, when you're trying to figure out what the hell this all means, this bottom part down here, this is your legend, all right? So this is going to tell you what information on your map means and what to do with it all. So, what is the first thing that we do when we come up to a map? You don't know, oh, I'm happy I'm here to help you. So the very first thing that you do every single time you look at a map, and I mean every single time, no matter what, every time, always, when you come up to a map, you want to first orient north. So, in the legend down here, it is going to tell you north and magnetic north. All right, so, okay, I found my north with my compass, all right? That means on here, my magnetic north is where I'm going to be pointing my map, because magnetic north and grid north are different. So you should have, and once again, if you're making your own maps, you should have in here to put what degree difference is between magnetic north and grid north. There's also true north, but who gives a shit about true north? So when you are going from your compass to your map, okay, you always want to make sure that you take into account that 15 degrees. So the easiest way that we thought of it in the military was major is over general, or correction, general is over major, and major is under general. That's something you want to take into consideration. If it's closer distances, it doesn't matter as much, but once you start getting farther away, that 15 degree split, it's going to start becoming huge, right? So if it's just one grid space, right? If it's just one box, all right? So that's 1,000 meters, right? So that 15 degrees, that might not be that big of a deal, okay? Now, once you start walking multiple clicks, all right, if you have a 10-mile movement plus, that 15 degrees, that's gonna start really adding up fast. And once again, that 15 degrees, that's for me, okay? Wherever you live, that's gonna be different. You want to make sure that you look up what that is wherever you are. And also another thing is that does change throughout the years. So if you have a map that is ancient, that's not going to be accurate anymore, because the magnetic poles do change throughout time. So that's something that you need to take in consideration is, okay, cool. What is my magnetic declination now? Right? Okay, cool. It was this 40 years ago. Awesome. that doesn't mean it's gonna be the same now. So make sure you take that into consideration. I'm gonna make sure this is still filming. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna teach you guys a little trick of the trade. So you're going to take your protractor, take a little piece of 550 cord. I want you to take out one of the string of guts. I like to lick it, you don't have to. All right, so you're gonna take this end section, do a couple loop-de-loops. All right, so having this little piece of string right here is a great cheat. You can take your protractor, put it down on the map, put the point over where you are or where your point is, and then you can draw a line with this fancy guy from point to point, and then you get your azimuth off of that. So let's say that my next point is right here, right? And then I have to go from here to there. So I know from that, if I align this correctly, that the azimuth that I have to shoot from there is 40 degrees. If I align that properly. Correction, 36 degrees. See, once again, doing it 2 or 3 times and then get the median really helps you out a lot. So, hell, I might even do it again. All right, align this one more time. And then still about 35, 36 degrees. Okay, so once again, what this means is that once I get to that point, or if that's already where I'm at, that means that's the azimuth. That's the azimuth that I have to shoot with my compass to get me to that next point. And if you don't want to dead reckon, then you can go right here. You're like, okay, cool, I'm here, I have to get there. Well, okay, so makes the most sense for me to follow this road, go up here, follow this road, maybe backtrack here. Maybe, you know, I'm gonna shoot over here, follow this creek, whatever. But from knowing where you are and where you have to go, then you can start planning your routes. All right, so next up on the rocket docket. How do you actually shoot an azimuth? What the hell are you doing with this thing? Wow, I'm glad you asked. Okay, so first thing, like I've said previously, you can fuck off. Like I've said previously, the first thing that you want to do with your compass, once you come up to your map, is orient north. You want to make sure right off the bat that you're facing north from your compass in relation to your map. But after that, once you have all of your grids plotted, right, and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, cool. Now that all my points are down, now that I've gotten everything dialed into the protractor, what the fuck am I actually doing here? So on this compass, and there's many different compasses out there, but on this compass, you're going to have right up here, you're going to have a level, you're going to have a sight tool, you're going to have your own little fancy ruler on the side. You can actually mark degrees. I hate this feature, I've never used it. And then you have a little sight glass right here. So what you're going to do right off the bat is make sure that you don't have any metals near you. So any metal that you get close to this is going to fuck this up. So if you have your rifle right on your chest, right, and you're trying to use your compass right next to your rifle, that's going to give you a screwed up reading, and you might wind up walking in a completely wrong direction. I've done it, it's not a fun time. If you're next to a vehicle, that is also going to screw up your azimuth. You're going to go in the wrong direction, you're not going to have a good time. If you're near any man-made structures, if you have a lot of metallics in your backpack, what have you, just make sure that you are trying your best to keep the compass away from it. Take your rifle, sling it to the back. I've even seen guys hand off rifles to try to get a proper azimuth. But like I said, with the map, you know, plot an azimuth multiple times. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing bad. There is nothing negative that is going to come from you plotting your azimuth multiple times. All right, so how do you plot an azimuth? So we are going to take our fancy pantsy map, right? And then once you've got your grid points of where you need to go, you are then going to use, like I stated previously, your little piece of fancy string, and you're going to find the azimuth that you need to shoot from each location that you have. Usually with a land nav course, you're going to have anywhere between 3 and usually 6 points, give or take. Normally, what we'll do is have 6 points for day, and then 4 points for night. And then for the day portion, you have to find 4 out of 6 to pass. And then for night, you have to find 2 out of 4 to pass. Now, as you guys get more proficient, as you try to stricken the time standards, as you try to dial it in more, yes, you can up those standards by any means. That is shooter's preference, you to you, however you want to swing it. Okay, so once again, you found all of your points, you've marked it down where you're trying to go, right? So once again, you're going to take your fancy piece of string and you're going to find an azimuth and you're going to actually write it down. So what I do when I'm plotting all of my points is I actually go through and I write down a roadmap of where I'm going. The more things that you can write down, the more notes that you can put to paper, the better off you're going to be in the long run, because once you're tired, you're going to start becoming very forgetful. So that is another reason that training this and getting this to be muscle memory is going to help you out so much in the long run. So what I will do is I will plot, my start point. So SP, and then point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, what have you. And then so I will start plotting out where I'm going to go from my start point. So start point to point 1, azimuth of this. Point 1 to point 3, azimuth of this. Point 3 to point 2, azimuth of this. And so another thing you have to take in consideration of when you're doing land nav courses, when you're doing training, is that you don't have to go in chronological order. If anything, you can name your own points. Another thing is, after you plot a point, I highly recommend putting a little number next to it. So, whatever you name of point 1, point 2, point 3, point 4, put a little number next to that so you remember for later. But make sure that that number that you put is not in the way of another azimuth that you're trying to shoot. Some guys, and I've done this in the past, sometimes I'll do this, sometimes I won't, is drawing a line of your azimuth so it's always there, once again, with pencil. As I've stated in the past, I highly recommend carpenter's pencils. I really think that it's just kind of the way to go. I'll be selling these in the beginner's kits as well. Carpenter's pencils, you can snap them in half and you still have so much more pencil to use. Yeah. Okay, so how to shoot a azimuth. All right, so once again, you're going to have your little bubble, you're going to have your eyeglass, and then you're going to, on the vast majority of compasses, whatever compass you have, try to figure out how to use that compass, the best way to use that compass. Every compass is a smidge bit different. But, so let's say that I'm already at my location and I'm trying to shoot an azimuth of 330, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm level, look through my little eyeglass once I get on 330, which is right there. And then I'm going to look up just a little bit. And in this little sight picture right here, I'm going to try and find a defined feature. And then I'm going to walk to that defined feature. Once I get to that, so usually I'll just pick some large tree, right? And then I'm going to walk to that large tree. Once I get there, then I'm going to shoot another azimuth of the exact same azimuth, and that ensures that you stay on the same path. So if you do wind up getting off track, right, sit down and re-evaluate where you are, find out where you are on the map, and then you're going to have to shoot a new azimuth from the grid. Once again, take into consideration on this of grid to magnetic, because as I've stated in the past, grid, so the map, to magnetic is different. So wherever you are in the world, it's going to be different. For me, it's 15 degrees. I don't know what it's going to be for you. You're going to have to look that up. You're going to have to do your own research. But once again, make sure that you understand what your GM angle is. Understanding your GM angle and keeping your GM angle in your head, you know what, hell, write it down in every single piece of note that you have. Write it down on, because it should be on your map, yes, but in case it's not, you know, write it down in your notepad. GM angle 15 degrees, and just try to keep that in your head, because if you start going longer distances, that GM angle can fuck you up. Magnetic to grid, you subtract your GM angle. From grid to magnetic, you add your GM angle. So if I shoot an azimuth of 330 degrees, when I go to my map, I'm going to subtract that, so it is then going to be 315 degrees. If I get an azimuth on there of 330 degrees, when I come to my compass, it is now going to be 345 degrees. I cannot even begin to stress this enough, how important that is, because you can really get fucked up really easily. Also, with your compass, since it's in my hand, this little cord right here is fairly inexpensive. It's easy. Dummy cord this to your shit. So even if it's simple as taking this to your belt and just looping it through, so that way whatever pocket it's in, however you have it in your chest rig, if for whatever reason it gets pulled on, something happens, it is attached to you. One thing that's not bad by any means is keeping 2 sources of compasses on your person. Hell, I have 3 actually. So I will have my primary compass, I will have my GPS on my watch, and then I will have the dinky little compass that is on my ranger beads. Having backup compasses really can't hurt. And that is the basics for land navigation. Once again, there's really not a whole lot to it. There is a lot more that I could go into this. There's a lot more that can go into this. Land navigation can be very, very in-depth if you want to go in-depth with it. But the basics, it's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry of what you need to know. And it's not bad to maybe keep notes in a notebook so you know what you're doing. It's very easy to forget everything, especially with social media and TV and the constant influx of information we have, right? It's very easy to brain dump things that you need to know. Also, and I know that this has been kind of heavily talked about recently, but as far as like my recce loadout goes, so I have 7 magazines in my micro chest rig, and then I keep 2 in my backpack, and I keep a 20 rounder in the gun. So some people might say that, you know, 9 mags and 1 in the gun isn't enough. If you want to carry more ammunition, there's nothing wrong with carrying more ammunition. The biggest thing that I would say as far as recce, as far as reconnaissance, as far as land navigation, just make sure that you have the proper equipment for your mission, regardless of what that is. So what you're seeing on YouTube, what you see on Instagram, what you see on Twitter, Tumblr, Grindr, if that's what you're into, you know, whatever you're seeing other men talking about, that might not fit into the parameters of what you're doing or your terrain. You know, so a lot of the advice that I give in the Pacific Northwest, that might not work for you, and that's okay, right? So figure out what works for you. Figure out, you know, okay, some of the stuff that this gorilla dude says, you know, that works for me, some of it doesn't. That's fine. And there's even things that I do in the Pacific Northwest that other men don't do, right? Because it's holy shit, personal preference. Yeah, as far as your kit loadout goes, you know, try different things. You know, try different rifle setups. You know, it's not something that there's one win-all, be-all Like, this is the definitive, this is the best piece of kit in the history of forever. I know a lot of people don't like micro chest rigs. I do. I like that I'm able to move my arms more, and that I like that I can tuck my rifle to the side of my micro chest rig, and then I have my knife right there, and I feel like I can properly operate out in the Pacific Northwest out of that chest rig. There's a lot of people that are going to heavily disagree with that. That's fine. If you don't like running the shit that I do, then don't. It's really that simple. If you don't like one thing, you don't have to do it. This is not the military. You don't have to, use one piece of kit that you fucking hate. Which is great thing about not being in the military. Don't join the military. Probably just lost a bunch of subscribers right there. If you're already in the military, cool, awesome. If you were in the military, cool, awesome. I'd say get out while you can. That's actually a video that... Fuck off. That's a video that I would like to do in the near future as well, of, trying to find a purpose after you get out of the military. Because that is a struggle for sure. Anyway, once again, that's the P&W Gorillas rant at the end of the video that I always have to do for whatever fucking reason. Okay, if you have any questions, if I missed anything, if there's anything that you disagree with, if you just hate me, go ahead, leave a comment. I like hearing what you guys have to say. I realize that I don't put enough effort into YouTube, and I'm working on it. We're getting there. A lot of exciting products coming up. If you are interested in getting into land nav, I will be selling a land navigation starter kit. By the time that this video comes out, we have finally gotten everything together, got it how we want it, and we'll be selling those. Pretty exciting stuff. And if you like what I do, if you like everything that's going on here, if you don't hate my guts, maybe consider subscribing to the Patreon. And I will see you guys in the next one. Once again, family and tribe, go outside and train. Ape together strong.